Hello and welcome to ChatterBox. I'm Josh Denzel and I'm joined by my regular sparring partner, Carl Frampton. Carl, first and foremost, how's the new rival doing?
She's doing okay. Well, I say that I think she's went backwards a wee bit. She was very quiet and peaceful and slept a lot at the start, but she does this thing now where it's almost like she senses that we're going to bed, and she likes to cry for a solid 90 minutes before she goes to sleep. No, but apart from that, it's all going well.
On the subjects of new dads, Tommy Fury, you got that one wrong, didn't you?
Yeah, got that wrong, massively wrong, and I hold my hands up. Me and a lot of other boxing pundits. So, fair play to Tommy.
Anyway, without further ado, let's get the man of the moment on the show. Welcome, Tommy Fury. How you doing, brother?
Yeah, I'm very well, thanks. Just about to pull in and feed myself full of pancake. A nice spot of mine with the daughter and the missus. So yeah, I'm all good, loving life.
No doubt. Now, Carl, I'm going to put you on the spot here because a lot of fighters and ex-fighters thought Jake would do it. So listen, you're not alone. But now I've stuck you right in the screen with the big man. I want to get your point.
Yeah, what can I say? Tommy proved me and a lot of other people wrong. I thought he looked good in the fight. He won it comfortably. And yeah, it was a good performance. When I got, as the fight got closer, I actually started to change my mind a bit, and a lot of it was down to the confidence of Tommy, and it seemed the lack of it from Jake Paul. But I didn't want to openly say, actually, I might be changing my mind here towards Tommy, because then everyone goes, "Oh, you're just afraid of John Fury," which I am, by the way. But yeah, I thought it was a great performance. Well done, mate.
I appreciate it, but I'll tell you what's funny. It's like all these former world champions, they clearly don't know all about boxing because they can't even call two novices. They can't even pick between two novices. I told everybody, the Tony Bellews as well, all the people that told me and said that I couldn't beat this man, well, they've just got egg all over the faces because at the end of the day, me and my dad said it, for all the build-up. And it was an easy fight. I clearly outwon him. It shouldn't have been a split decision. It should have been a unanimous. But like I said, listen, egg on everybody's faces that said I couldn't do it. So, yeah, it feels very, very nice to sit here and prove everybody wrong because I was the guy who was going to crack under pressure. I was the guy that had never been in the main event before. I was the guy that was going to get knocked out off a YouTuber. But no, they've all got egg on their faces. So I can say that confidently.
Well, listen, fair play to you. And again, I thought it was a good performance. I never didn't think it was going to be a blowout for either man. And like I said, it was two novice professionals going at it. And fair play to you, but there was just signs there that you're kind of a bit more pedigree. Your job was better. You landed a nice uppercut at times as well. And it was just.
Well, this is the thing.
Yeah,
I don't understand why nobody clicked onto this at the start. Like, all these people are meant to be in the job all the life and, seasoned vets and watch millions of fights. How can you not look at Jake Paul and look at me and think, oh, hold on a minute, one man knows what he's doing, one man's been around all his life and he can see that, and then another man's beat, a load of old men and MMA people. Like I'm only 23 years old and I've had no experience in boxing really, but I can call fights. Like I can say how it's going to go just off looking at somebody. And honestly, in the build up to this, it was funny because me and my dad and the whole team was sat there laughing, thinking, what are these guys seeing that we ain't seeing? And I went in there and it was a complete shutout. Jake couldn't even deal with a jab, and let it be what it was. That there was more high profile than any world title fight. So it just showed at 23 years old, I've gone in there and I can handle the pressure, don't crack under pressure, and that's it. And in the rematch, you'll be getting knocked out, because I've been in there now, done the 8 rounds, and that's it. But I'm just happy that I proved everybody wrong. That's the main thing for me.
I think you have proved everyone wrong, but up until we know the Fury fighting name, and you've got, you're from a family of fighters, but up until the Jake Paul victory, there were still question marks because we didn't know what you could do because the level of opposition wasn't amazing, which is what happens as novice professionals. I fought guys similar to your level of opposition coming up myself, but that's what happens. But we just didn't know. There was so much pressure on you. I didn't know how it was going to work out. But clearly you handled it, and you know, fair play to you. I hold my hands up. I got it wrong, and you done very well.
Well, I appreciate it, and hopefully on the rematch, everybody will be thinking with some sense.
Tommy, this was the moment that you were waiting for. There was a lot of emotion pouring out when the referee raised your hand, right? Was there any nerves when you heard it was a split decision?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when when it's a split decision, it's a big fight like that. You know, people want to see it again. So, you know, I was at fear of it being a draw. I was at fear of it going against me. But I knew I'd won every single round. And when you beat somebody convincingly like that, because I've watched the fight back, watched the highlights back just literally a few hours ago, and the guy couldn't deal with the jab. The jab was killing him. But the emotion that you're seeing coming out of me after the fight, it wasn't for beating Jake Paul. That wasn't, you know, I know I celebrated like I won a world title, but the celebration had nothing to do with the opponent. It was all to do with what I'd overcome for the past 3 years. You know, walking down the street, you know, getting laughed at because, you know, I'm meant to be professional boxing, and I was running scared of Jake Paul, and I backed out of 2 fights, you know, and all this sort of stuff, and I can stay in Saudi Arabia for losing, and I've got to defend my last name, can't do Tyson wrong. All this pressure that was on my shoulders that everyone had put on me, basically it didn't matter, you know, and that's what it was. And it was a big accomplishment to myself, because there's not a lot of people at 23 that can go out there and in an event like that, watched all over the world. You had greats at ringside, you had Ronaldo sitting up at the top. Like, there's not many people that can go out there and cope with that pressure. And the fact that I can do that, and having a baby 3 weeks earlier, all this going on in my life, and still go out there and put on a performance and get the win, that was the most special thing to me, because everything that I went through over the past 3 years, it had paid off on Sunday night. You know, now I walk down the street, it's good job, mate, well done. I put that chapter behind me. So it's that was a relief, you know, for me, and it meant a lot, as you can see.
I think, Tommy, that there was some criticism thrown your way about how you reacted after the fight, but I think it was it was uncalled for, the criticism, because not only the fact that people like myself and other pundits had been tipping Jake Paul to win, but you've just had a new baby. You know, the first weeks of her life, you're away from home. You know, your girlfriend, Molly, is at home looking after the baby. I can understand that emotion. Like, as a father who was a boxer, who was often away from his family, that's one of the hardest things to do, mate.
This is it. And it's like that. That was all the emotion coming out of there, because going into that fight, I'd not even spent a night with my daughter, and she'd been born. Like, you know, I was there, I was stuck in a little old apartment by myself, you know, doing nothing, twiddling my thumbs in training camp, as we do. And you know, it did eat away at me. You know, there was some days where I was feeling sorry for myself and saying, "Oh, what am I doing? You know, am I doing the right thing? Am I not doing the right thing?" And then on Sunday night, you know, getting my hand raised like that, it all just showed that I did do the right thing. And, you know, like I said, Tyson's the man in our family. He always will be. But Sunday night was my glimpse at glory, and like my time at the top, because even though it wasn't a world title fight, like I've said before, it had the magnitude of a world title fight, and it had as much pressure on it as a world title fight. So, you know, that was my time, you know, and it's still going to be my time, because in the rematch, I'll definitely get him out of there, and it's going to be all big nights, you know. At the end of the day, I'm going to get these YouTubers out of a job, and then I'm going to see how far I can take it in boxing. You know, going back to what I always said, I said that I'll clear up these YouTubers, not a problem, because they're easy. And then boxing, I want to see how far I can take it. I know I've got what it takes inside of me to win a world title. Half of that's already done. I've seen Tom Aspinall come out and said, you know, he can win a world title if he wants. I'm 23 years old. I've shown I can cope with the pressure, which a lot of people can't do, and that's half the job, as any fighter will know. And I believe I've got the skill and the talent to do so. All I need is a bit of polishing. And at 23, I think I've got a lot of time to do so. So I'm still on track. I'm still on track to achieve my goals in boxing. And when I do that, then that'll be it, won't it?
Who's doing the night feeds now, Tommy? As you said, you were away from home a lot. Are you taking over now?
So basically, what was we up? We was up at 2 o'clock last night. We was up at 4:30, and about 7:45 this morning. I was up for every single one of them. But again, it was thoroughly enjoyable. I know I regret saying that in about 2 or 3 weeks, but it was enjoyable because I've not done it, and you know, being there and just being around all of it and being a dad. You know, that's the main thing for me. You know, because like I said, these are the first few nights I've spent with her, and she's been born, you know, 5 weeks now. So I'm enjoying every single minute of it. I'm enjoying wiping the sick up. I'm enjoying changing the dirty nappies, whatever you want. Keep it coming.
Listen, Tommy, I spent a lot of time with you in Saudi over the last week. You've dealing with the pressure, coming back, becoming a dad. Did you leave Saudi a different person to the one that arrived the week before the fight?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like especially since the baby coming along, I've really became a man. I've got my own family now to take care of. I feel like I've carried the weight on my shoulders. Like, I don't know, I feel like I've grown up a little bit. In such a small sense. Like, after other fights, I've gone out drinking, whatnot, and all I wanted to do straight off the bat after this fight was go home to my family and just be at home. So I feel like I've got that bit of maturity in me now, and it feels amazing because after you have your children, you realise what's important in life. And thank God, we got the victory on Sunday. But even not, I'm winning at life anyway because I've got gifted a lovely baby girl, and not many people. Well, some people can't have children out there, so I'm very fortunate to be in the position that I am. I'm in. So at the end of the day, regardless of the boxing, I'm winning because I've got the gift of her being here.
How was it walking back into the dressing room and seeing all of your team, family members? We're going to play a little video of that, and I want you to talk me through it.
That's why we're in boxing, for memories like that. I'm just so fortunate to be in the position that I'm in. In my 9th fight, that I can have memories like that. Again, it all feels like a dream. I've not really woke up yet. I'm still on cloud 9. The support's been absolutely amazing. Just walking through the streets is absolutely incredible. The support of everybody, thank you to everyone who tuned in, and thank you to everyone who's supporting me. It's without the fans, boxing's it's a lonely sport anyway, but without the fans, we'd be out of a job, wouldn't we? So thank you to everybody that tuned in.
Tommy, before you go, I know you're a busy man. Sorry, can I ask you one question? I think that we all know that you've got dreams and aspirations of moving on and becoming British, European, and a world champion one day and following Tyson's footsteps. But if you can, like in your last fight against Jake Paul, you've probably earned more money than 99% of boxers will their whole career. So what's the difference? Like, how do you stop fighting these guys? Like, I'm sure there's a fight with KSI's potential and all these other types, Jake Paul rematch, earning mega money. But to go back down that route of British, European, the money isn't as great.
Yeah.
Is that going to be a difficult thing to weigh up and look at?
You know what? It's definitely something that's crossed my mind, but it always leads me back to that same image of why I got into boxing. Now, especially after what happened on Sunday, I'm not in boxing for money anymore because, I don't live the most extravagant lifestyle. I don't live on yachts. I don't buy, all these fancy things. I'm not really interested. I've got a car. I've got a place to put my head down at night, and I've got a family, and that does me. So I'm not in boxing for money at the minute. Like, the money now is not, it's not really important. I'm in boxing for my name to go down in history, and that's still the same goal. And it just shows that after all these mega fights and all this money that I can earn, I'll be in boxing because I enjoy it and it's a passion of mine. And I'll always revert back to being that old man and saying, did I really give it my best shot? Because I know if I give it my best shot, my name can go down in history. I can achieve winning one world title belt because there's a lot worse men than me done it. And I've got the drive and the determination to get me there. Even after all these big fights, I'm still in the gym. I've still been training after Sunday, and even so, the hunger's there. I'm still eager to learn. I'm still eager to win titles, and go down as a proper boxer. I don't want to be remembered as these guys who, made a lot of money fighting idiots and then retired and left the sport. I want to be remembered as Tommy Fury. He made great money fighting these YouTubers who were big events, and he also stuck to his boxing. He retired, and he had a world title behind him. That'll be happiness for me, and I will achieve it.
Well, Tommy, listen, enjoy those pancakes, enjoy the sweet spoils of victory, brother. Always good to see you, and hopefully see you in another big event very soon.
Top man, cheers, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Right, guys, that's it for part 1. After the break, we'll be joined by Hall of Fame promoter Frank Warren. Welcome back to ChatterBox, guys. Earlier on today, Carl Frampton caught up with Hall of Fame promoter Frank Warren. Here's what he had to say.
Good to see you, Frank, and a happy belated birthday. You look all right for 80.
I'll tell you what, I feel good for 90.
Yeah. No, well, that's what I wanted to talk to you as well about how you're feeling. I know you've had a few issues. We are back, and you've had to miss the last couple of big events.
No, I'm okay. I'm getting there. Thanks, Carl. The old body's falling apart now, but I'm feeling much better than I was. That's for sure.
I want to get straight into it and talk about the Jake Paul Tommy Fury fight. Massive fight. Like, in terms of me, like the people talking to me about this fight in the streets, it really caught the public's imagination. How do you think that Tommy performed?
I think he did what he had to do. I mean, I fancied him to win the fight from the beginning when we made the fight, because I felt he'd had too much experience as an amateur, and obviously he had, was it 8 fights at that time as a pro. You know, the fight was what it was. It was a competitive 8-round fight, and you can't blame him for, you know. And I noticed when Carl Frock was doing he was doing a pundit on BT. I was quite. I don't know where he was at. He was slagging it off, and was slagging off Jake Paul like he couldn't believe. And I don't get that. You know, if he's taken, even if he only had 1 pro fight or 2 pro fights, what are you slagging him off for? You're only slagging him off because he's earned a lot of money. You can't slag him off for having the balls and the guts to get in the ring and take on a licensed professional boxer. You've got to take your hat off to him for that.
Yeah, I think that's one of the issues that some boxers have, that the money that these guys are making, and maybe there's a bit of jealousy concerned in their behalf, like, and that's what it is. They're like, you know, I'm a good, decent fighter or whatever, and I don't make half this money. And I think Fratch is maybe, we can ask him the question at some point, I'm sure, but I think he's probably trying to get in amongst that as well and try and get a big payday to fight one of these guys.
Well, good luck to him if he does, and I don't blame him for that. But he got a payday on the night commentating. If it weren't for that show, he wouldn't have been getting paid for the commentary. And if you don't like doing it, then donate your commentary money to an ex-boxers association.
I agree with the money issue, Frank. I think that look, if the boys are getting paid really well, then fair play to them. They've got this massive outreach. I think it's something other boxers can look at, and look at guys like Jake Paul and Tommy Fury and how they promote themselves to maybe start earning a little bit more money themselves.
No matter which way you want to dress it up, it's done fabulous business. Both the guys have made a lot of money, and good luck to them. But it's an 8-round fight, and you're in boxing, and I'm in boxing, and we know what the level is that it is, and that is what I'm afraid people sort of get carried away with, who are criticising it. They're fighting at a level which is not British Championship level yet. And by the way, the reason they're not fighting a British Championship yet, because they're not ready for a British title fight yet. Hopefully Tommy, I'm sure Tommy will be down the road. But the other side of it, and you said you got him coming on soon, the other side of it is, will he want to fight? Will he want to continue fighting?
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you that question, Frank, and I'm going to put it to Tommy as well. So if he's getting multi-million-pound paydays for 8s and 10-rounders against, guys like Jake Paul or maybe KSI or something like that, how do you try and if he wants to, become British, European, world champion, whatever, how do you sell him the dream to say, right, we've got you this guy on a small bill, we're going to give you 40 grand, you know what I mean? How do you do it?
You're right. You're absolutely right. It's the expectation. I mean, look, at the end of the day, Tommy's his own man. He'll make a decision what he wants to do in the future. I'm sure that he'll want to do the rematch, and if he wants to do that, he'll make his decision and work that out. But the end of it all is, I suppose, at this stage of the game, if I was him and I was managing him, I would be saying, go for the money right now. And then you've got your money, you bank that, you've got that, that's all there. Then you want to go and achieve your dream of fighting for winning the British, European and world title, then you can go for that. But in the meantime, you've got all your family secured. No one can knock you for that. Yeah. Why would anyone, I don't know why anyone would suggest any different. I mean, good luck to them.
Frank, we'll move on and talk about the bill that's coming up in Telford. A good bill, a lot of good, well-matched competitive fights. Nathan Heaney is on against Jack Flatley in a rematch after that horrible cut that Heaney suffered the last time. You've got Andrew Kane, who in my opinion is one of the most exciting prospects in the country. I love this kid and I love to watch him. But he's in a tough fight against Beluda, who has come over here and beat a lot of guys and upset the apple cart a few times. You've Raven Chapman, you've got Moses Atama as well. Tell us a little bit about how you're feeling about this, Bill.
Well, I'm quite pleased with it. It's a good fighting card. There's some real good even matches on there. As you say, Nathan Healy and Jack Flatley, I'm looking forward to that rematch. I think it'd be a real cracker. You know there's going to be fantastic atmosphere there with the amount of tickets. I mean, he's a big ticket seller, Nathan. So
his support is second to none. They're the best. I love him.
You've got Cunningham making a comeback on there. And as you mentioned, Raven, she's really come on really well considering... from my our perspective, we've only really been involved in a couple of women's boxers, and I really do enjoy watching her fight. She's been a breath of fresh air, so I'm delighted she's on the card. And as you mentioned as well, Moses having his second fight, Moses Atumia, former amateur European champion, former amateur youth world champion. He's going to set the world alight. We're going to keep him busy this year, and his objective and ours, which we share with him, is to get him at least 8 to 10 fights away by the end of the year.
I'm extremely excited about Moses. I genuinely, I think the sky's the limit for this kid. I'm sure there's a lot of buzz around him at Queensbury headquarters, Frank.
But I'll tell you something. My opinion is he is going to be one of the best heavyweights we've seen for a number of years. I said the same thing about Daniel Dubois, who's had a couple of horrendous injuries in his career already. And he's gone on to become the WBA regular champion now, and he's a mandatory at a very young age. This guy's even younger and coming with a much better amateur background, and I think he's going to go on to be something extremely special.
Yeah. So keeping on the topic of heavyweights, Joe Joyce has got a fight coming up against Zhang, mountain of a Chinese man. Joe is mandatory for the winner of Fury and Usyk. Do you see these fights as a bit of a risk for Joe to be taken? He could have had an easier touch in preparation and just wait that out.
Well, I do, but he asked for it, and they are similar in styles. They both they're absolutely similar in amateur background. Both of them are silver medalists from their two respective Olympic games, and quality. Both quality fighters. It's going to be a bust up. I mean, the styles will be. Joe walks forward. He throws lots of punches, and he gets caught sometimes. He'll take a punch to throw a couple. This guy's the same. And his last fight, he fought Hrgovic, who everybody was telling me he's the next big thing. And I'd only seen a little bit of stuff with him on the on film on the internet. And I watched that fight, obviously, with great interest. And I thought he won it. I thought he actually beat him. He didn't get
I thought he beat Hrgovic, yeah. Yeah,
I did. So that, and Hrgovic is the mandatory for the IBF version of the title for Usyk, the winner of Usyk and Tyson, if they get it on. So that's the level he's at. There's a lot on the line for both, for Joe, and for him to step up and take this fight, where a lot of guys would just take marking time fights, says a lot about him and his character.
Joe's got no fear, has he, Frank? And I imagine your heart has got to be in your mouth sometimes watching him fight. That overhand right from Parker in round 4, it would have taken everyone else out, I imagine. But the guy's got a chin of granite.
I'll tell you something. I think that's what set me back with my back. I thought I was recovering when he got clipped with that. But he does that. He's got the most apt nickname of any boxer. He's a juggernaut. Bounce off him and he just keeps coming forward, and he's relentless and exciting. He's really, really, captured the British public, boxing fans and British public's imagination now. And he's going to be up there fighting this, provided he comes through against a really good fighter in Zhang. He's going to be up there challenging for the world title this year.
Moving on, keeping the heavyweight scene going, it's went a wee bit quiet, I suppose, with Fury and Usyk. Can you give us an update as to where we are, Frank?
Well, we're still in talks at the moment, and they're going on. They've been going on for quite a while now, and it will reach a conclusion very quickly now, because the proposed date is the 29th of April, and if we can't do it, then we can't get it done quickly, then we've got to look at something else, and I'm just hoping we can. But I'll never say die, so we've got to keep working away at it.
Yeah, we all want to see that. And another question I wanted to ask you: is Saudi off the table now? Is it the UK? Is that the
Yeah.
only?
It'll be if it happens, it'll be in the UK. Saudi won't be doing any big shows till the end of the year, so they say. I mean, that was what they said last week, I think, after the fight. So that's the position. We've got our fingers crossed, and they're good people to deal with. They're very sensible people. So, as you say, we're all working to get it done, and I hope we can get it done. It's not for the want of trying, that's for sure.
All right, Frank. As normal, it was great talking to you, and I hope that you're well on the way to recovery. And I'm looking forward to seeing you again soon.
And the same here, young man. And I hope you get some sleep.
Oh, so do I. So do I.
Hello and welcome back to part 3, where I'm thrilled to say we're joined by a proper boxing legend, the one and only Amir Khan. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing really well. That was a nice little intro. A proper legend. A proper legend is right. Boxing's been kind, and I do miss the sport now and then. It's funny because I remember when I started my career off, people would always say, call me from being in the Olympics and the Olympian silver medalist. Then I went to being a world champion. So sometimes you get so used to that now. When people say you're retired or you're a boxing legend or you're a retired fighter, it's hard to sink in because it doesn't seem, because I'm still young and it's still quite fresh to me, being retired.
I don't think it's until you retire, Amir, that you actually realize what you've achieved in your career, going from the young Olympian, a silver medal, and then beating Kindling and a rematch down the line, a world champion, I think the third youngest British world champion, multi-weight world champion. You never ducked anybody. Josh did say a proper legend, but it's deservedly so.
No, sometimes Carl, you'd forget sometimes what you've done in your career, and the people you fought, and the changes you made in boxing. Bringing in a lot more Asian boxers. Before there were no Asian boxers at all. Used to box. Instead their parents would be like, "Nah, go into education," but not boxing. And now there's a lot more Asians out there. It's opened the door to them. And then fighting around the world, knowing that boxing could give you a good life. I mean, even yourself, Carl, you've been there, you've done it. I'm sure you were 2-time world champion as well. Or the 2 division.
Three, but 2 weights.
Oh, really? 3-time world champion. So, I mean, it's just, that's nice. That's good, man. So, I mean.
It's all right, isn't it? Here, it's more than I expected to do, Amir, anyway.
Yeah. And, same with me, bro. Look, I was just happy to be a pro and win one world title. But then when you start going into that world title fights and you start, mixing yourself with the big names like Mayweather, then Pacquiao, and I mean that for me alone was massive. To be one of the big household names in boxing, and then go to America and fight over there. It was my dream to fight in America, but I mean to fight there many times and fight the likes of Canelo, Crawford, guys who I've always looked up to. It's God's been kind.
Do you miss it then, Amir? It's something I don't. Just so you know, I'm
to be honest,
delighted to be on the other side of it.
Yeah, you know what? I do miss I do miss it in a little bit, in a way where you're going to events and you're getting weighed in, being in good shape, and then being in that ring and you've got the whole crowd there supporting you. But then again, I don't really miss it as well. I'm kind of happy that it's gone. I've ticked that box now, because there was so much pressure on my shoulders, and every fight was a hard fight. And even when I wasn't in training camp, I'll always be like, "Oh, you know what? I can't eat this, or I can't do this. I can't go here on holiday because I'm gonna be in training camp soon." So really, boxing took a big part of my life, and I'm kind of glad that it's done now. That pressure off my shoulders is gone, and I can now be a normal father, normal husband to my family. Because normally with my kids as well, taking them, if my wife was like, let's take them on a little vacation, I couldn't do them things because I knew that I had training camp, so I had to get my bags ready and I had to get everything set. But yeah, I'm glad in a way it's over, because sometimes you got a bit too much. And when you start, it got to a stage towards the end of my career. especially the last 2-3 fights, that I kind of lost love for the sport. But people knew me as a fighter, as a boxer, so I kept on boxing because I was like, people know me as a fighter, so I'm just gonna keep on doing it. But really, I didn't really love the sport. It's just like I had to go and do it.
Talking about maybe not the same fighters as they were, but still present in the sport. The likes of Floyd Mayweather, Pacquiao, they're doing a lot of, I guess, exhibition fights. Is that anything that you'd want to do where it's maybe not quite as serious? You're not going to get tagged. It's something that you look at and go, finally, I can have that fight with Pacquiao or Floyd.
Yes, you see, like, I call this question. I mean, it's just how you are as a person, how you are as a fighter. Like in my last fight, I don't know how you felt in your last fight, Carl, against Jamel. Were you nervous in it anyway when you walk into the ring? What were you like? Did you have any butterflies? Were you calm, chill?
Not overly nervous. It was a strange feeling because it was in Dubai as well, and it was during COVID, and it was pretty quiet. It was all just a bit strange.
Because the reason I asked that is because when I was going to the fight with Kel, I had no nerves at all. But at the same time, it's like I wanted it over with. I remember looking at the clock before leaving the changing rooms and thinking, in 2 hours' time, I'll be in my bed. And that's such a bad way to think about it now, looking back at it, thinking, because I just wanted it done with. Like, I was so sick of the training camp. It was so long and hard. And the fight week was so long. And there's so much we had to do. I just wanted it over with. And I remember looking and thinking, oh, man, 2 more hours, it's all going to be it. It's all going to be done. And I never had that thinking before, mind frame before it was like, I can't wait to get in that ring and put on a performance. But this time it was like, I just want it over with. So I don't know if you ever felt like that.
Yeah, no, I get that completely. And Josh, you're talking about the exhibition stuff as well. Is that something that appeals to you, Amir? Like, would you be open to one of these sort of things?
It depends, really. I know there's a lot of exhibitions happening. Mayweather's doing a lot. Manny Pacquiao, I heard, wants to do some. Yeah, I mean, look, I might give it a go. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. It's been a year now where I'm not being a boxer, and I do kind of miss it a little bit. Just to kind of, have them people screaming your name out and stuff, and just getting back in the ring, maybe throwing a punch, seeing if I've still got it. Because since I retired, I've not really gone in the gym or even throwing a punch. But I'd like to do it. Yeah, I'd like to do it. Look, end of the day, we all prize fighters. We're so used to making big money for fights, and if there's an opportunity there for you, I think we'd be stupid not to take it. So I will definitely take it. And you have to remember as well, Carl, they're only like 8 2-minute rounds. So I mean, I could do that even not being in a training camp. Even if I could just, like, I'm not trained at all.
I couldn't. Right? Could you do 8 2s right now?
I think so, yeah.
I couldn't. Not a chance.
You've gone from being convinced to not convinced at all.
I was just thinking, it just depends who it's against, though. If it's against, like, a YouTuber who's not really fought before, like how we saw Fury fight against Logan Paul. But then again, not Logan Paul, sorry. What's he called? Jake Paul.
Jake Paul,
yeah. I think, but then again, look, thinking about that, Jake wasn't a bad fighter, really. Jake is a lot better than most YouTubers when it comes to fight. But look, it just depends who you got in front of you. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to just step into a ring. I mean, I'd like to think that, but after a round or two, I'd be like thinking, I need to go back in camp.
Can you give me your highest moment of your career and your lowest moment, and why?
My highest has to be the Kotelnik fight, because why? It was like 2 fights after I got beat by Prescott, when everyone thought I was done. Even I kind of was thinking to myself that maybe I will never become a world champion. I'll never be what people thought I'd be, the fighter. And but then obviously I surprised everyone. So that has to be one of the highest moments, because that brought my confidence back then to be on that world-class level. So yeah, the Kotelnik fight for me was the highest moment. And then the lowest moment probably was just waiting around for, like, when the Mayweather fight was being talked about, and I was getting told that I've got the fight, And one of the reasons the fight didn't happen was because I announced the fight before Mayweather, and like my side of the contract was signed, but because I announced it before him, he kind of spat his dummy out and said the fight's not happening.
Ah, that's so petty. Is that it? Is that the only reason?
Yeah.
But that's
That-
very
that-
Floyd.
Yeah, and that's the reason he said, I'm not giving you the fight now. And then he went on and fought Berto. Yeah.
Oh, man. You know what? That is
But
it's
Mayweather
unfortunate.
Can do that. Mayweather can
Yeah,
do
he
that
can.
because
He's
he's such a
put
big
himself-
name. Like you can't. I mean, what he says goes. You know, because he's the big pay-per-view seller in America and everything else. So you have to respect that. But yeah, I mean, now obviously Canelo's got that position where now Canelo can do what he wants, and he dictates. But it's boxing. You know, you have to be a someone if you want things to go your way.
So that was it for part 3 of ChatterBox. Join us after the break where we'll be joined again by Amir Khan. Welcome back to the final part of ChatterBox. Alongside me, we have Carl Frampton and Amir Khan. Earlier on the show, we spoke to Frank Warren and Tommy Fury to discuss Tommy's win over Jake Paul. Amir, what did you make of the fight?
You know what? I never expected Jake to put on a performance that he put on. I mean, look, to get a knockdown as well, and then to he seemed very confident throughout the whole fight. I mean, the whole build up of the fight, and then but I did see one thing that when it come more close to the fight week, I think it kind of hit him that look, it's time to fight now, and you could see his nerves kicking in. You can see that he was as confident or as cocky as he was. To me, it showed me a lot where Fury is gonna go from here. He's still got a long way to go, and maybe this fight will help him a lot because it'll make him realize that he needs to work on a lot more fundamental things and he needs to work on a lot more basic things to get to that level, because always that pressure's on Tommy. People are going to compare him to his brother Tyson. So in a way, I think it kind of gives him a lot of takes a lot of pressure away from him now, because people know he's his own man and he's got his own style. So yeah, we can't really keep pushing that he's gonna be a world champion in a couple of fights. He might never get to world class level, but he got the win last weekend. So yeah, that was good.
I was going to say, now we know Tommy can now say, like, listen, I'm a bona fide boxer. Jake Paul can probably say the same about himself now. But
Yeah,
what do you
both
make
can,
of
yeah.
like the whole YouTube boxing phenomenon that's gone crazy last year and a half, 2 years?
100%, but it's massive. It is really, really big. And I think what was happening was UFC was taking over, and everyone's talking about UFC, MMA. It surpassed boxing and left boxing behind. Now boxing's coming back again. You know, it's coming back, and it's getting people watching. You know, you're getting bums on seats, and you see in Saudi Arabia, you've got people talking about the fights now. When Jake was fighting Tommy, I mean, even though it was a world title fight, it was a YouTube fight versus a boxer. People were like still so entertained by that, so hyped up by that. So I think that's what boxing needed. It needs to bring that love back for fans to get back into boxing, because, like I said, UFC was taking over.
I think I actually differentiate like guys like, well, Tommy Fury is clearly a boxer, but even, like Jake Paul, I don't have him. I don't see him as the YouTuber boxer anymore. I see him as a novice professional, because
Yeah.
he's got a lot of money. He's been paying good sparring partners, the top guys to train him, strength conditioning coaches, nutritionists. He's living the life of a boxer. Now there's other stuff going on and this misfit stuff and all, which I pay no attention to. It doesn't interest me in the slightest. But I think it's now probably unfair to label Jake Paul as a YouTube fighter. I think he's a novice professional. Who can say that?
I totally agree with you. Yeah, I mean, especially when he knocked out, is he Tyrone, the guy from UFC?
Tyrone Woodley, he knocked down
Woodley,
Anderson Silva.
Anderson Silva as well. So these are not. And I just seen an article on Jake saying that he was sick a week before the fight. Now, I don't know how much truth's in that, but he's saying he was sick a week before the fight. And if you look at the performance I did against, this is what his words were. I had a better performance when I fought against the Spider-Man, what's his name, Anderson Silva. Yeah, and if I boxed the same way, because he says that Anderson Silva was a better fighter than Fury. So, I mean, I think the rematch, if there is going to be one, I think there's still a lot of interest there because people, like I said, it wasn't really a convincing win for Fury, for Tommy. So I think that the rematch is still going to be big as well.
I think it will be, but this is I think that looking at that last fight and having picked Jake Paul actually to win it in the build-up, it's hard. Although he done okay in the fight, and he should be proud of himself for the performance. Yeah. It's hard to see how he beats Tommy Fury in a rematch. I think he couldn't figure out Tommy's jab. He does. I agree.
He has to totally change everything. He has to be the aggressive guy, come forward and just let it all go. I mean, he has to give it his all because I think there were times in that fight where I think his fitness, you could see his fitness wasn't there. And that's where Tommy then put the pressure on him and pushed him back and caught him with some good clean shots. But then again, when he was at his best in the ring, when he was putting them combinations and them flurries, he was doing really well. It's all about him keeping that engine. So maybe he needs to go into a longer camp. Maybe he needs to be a little bit more, take it a little bit more serious. Because I can only imagine that he had a training camp of two months. Maybe he needs to be in there a little bit longer, to get his fitness, because he was still quite podgy. If you looked at him he wasn't really in fighting weight shape. If you look at Tommy and look at them both, when you compare them both body-wise, Tommy was in a lot better shape,
I mean, it's always good to hear your opinion on the big YouTube fights, of course. Now, his big brother, Tyson, was actually ringside. Yeah. We're praying that with Usyk, for all the belts come sooner rather than later. Talk to me. How do you see that one panning out? Who wins that?
That'll be a very technical fight. I've seen Usyk train in Dubai when I was over there. He invited me to the gym, so I went to see him train before the Joshua 2 fight. And look, one thing about Usyk, he's very calculated. A very calculated guy. He's one of them type of guys that kind of sees everything. He's so sharp. I mean, he'll make you miss by an inch and come back with a shot, or he'll draw you into a fight, or maybe he's just very, very skillful. Typical Eastern European style. The fight is like he's still got his amateur style as well. If you think about it, he has his hand out, puts it out there, lures you in, catches you, then moves off. He's not like, and if he has to fight inside the pocket, he can do that as well. So that's one thing. When I saw him train in person, he looked amazing. And if he's fighting someone like Tyson Fury, I think Tyson, look, in my opinion, Tyson is the best heavyweight for a long time we've seen. And I mean, especially with what he did against Deontay Wilder, he destroyed him. Yeah. And there's no one out there to touch him. I can't see anyone beating him. But with the fight between Usyk and Tyson, it will be a very competitive fight, don't get me wrong. Usyk still has the fundamentals and he knows how to get in there, he knows how to throw the right shots. But I just feel like Tyson has too much for him. He's got too much size, he's got too much speed, and he's got too much power. He is a real heavyweight, whereas Usyk, I still feel that he's not really that big heavyweight fighter he is.
Elsewhere in the heavyweight division, we've got Deontay Wilder, who was at ringside at the Jake Paul Tommy Fury fight. Can he come back and kind of put his name in the mix for a world title? Can he come back and regain a world title?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's one thing about Deontay Wilder. He's such a big, heavy puncher, and if you think about his career, he's not really had that many wars. I mean, yeah, okay, fine. He had 2 wars against. Was it 2 fights or 3 fights he had against Fury?
Three fights against Fury, but the last 2 were wars, really.
Yeah, there were wars, and it took a lot out of him. But when someone's got power like the power he has, I think he'll always have a chance. Maybe, I don't know how he's going to look after the losses he's had against Fury, but he seemed very confident sat there when he was at the fight on the weekend. When Tommy Fury fought Jake, he seemed very confident. But he is one fighter in the heavyweight division which you can't really look past because he's got that power which can destroy a lot of people. Even a good boxer could get knocked out, with the power he's got. He's got crazy power.
I think he's always got a chance in a fight, like Amir said. Like his punching power is serious, and I watched him live against Luis Ortiz, and he lost every minute of every round.
Yeah.
And he hit him a shot and just turned his lights out about
sparked
round
him out.
9, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's always dangerous.
One thing about fighters like that is even they could be losing a fight. Sometimes they'll take some punishment just to get his opponent tired. I mean, Luis Ortiz was destroying Wilder, but then what Wilder did was put 2-3 punches together, boom, and knocked him out. And you would never expected that. But that's one thing about heavyweights and heavy punches. He's not only a heavy puncher, he's a heavy puncher. He hits hard. And like say, and when he hits you with a clean shot, you're gone. I remember also training with another fighter in who Virgin Hunter was training, who fought against Deontay Wilder. I forgot his name now on top of my head. He got knocked out, but he was a former 2012 Olympian. But for some reason, couldn't get going in the fight, and he got knocked out because he got caught with a big shot. So that's one thing about these heavyweights. If you get the right shot in, it's game over.
We've also got some serious Brits in the heavy. We've got Joe Joyce, who's fighting Zhang on April 15th, which is it's a tough fight, right?
Yeah, Zhang is a durable fighter, and I think it's another step up for Joe Joyce. I think it's a good step up that he can win in good fashion and good style. But like I said, now it's starting to get hard for him. Now the heavyweights are coming out. He's going to be in some tough, rugged fights, and it's going to show us that how good Joe Joyce could be.
And then you've also got AJ coming up with a fight against Jermaine Franklin. If he comes through that, is he back in the mix?
I think so. I think look, it just depends how he comes through that fight. If AJ goes in the fight and he knocks him out within like 4 or 5 rounds and looks really good by knocking him out, then yeah. But if he goes in the fight and it's a tough 12-round fight, maybe he's been caught a few times, he might need 1 or 2 more fights just to build his confidence back up and then go back in that world level. But it just depends how he comes out of this fight. I think he can beat Franklin. Franklin is a rugged, tough fighter, comes forward, throws them big shots. But it just depends how AJ wins this fight. I think he will win the fight, but it's how he wins the fight. If he gets a knockout, then I think he's straight back in the mix. But if he goes the full distance, it might be a little bit tough.
Finally, listen, I've got to ask you, who's your top 5 pound-for-pound fighters in the world today? Who's making your list?
Top 5. So I think Usyk has to be number 1. Nah, you know what? Nah, I put Tyson Fury number 1. I'll put Usyk number 2. I'll put Crawford number 3. You could probably put Spence in there as well, number 4. And number 5, Canelo. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So yeah, that would be my list. Not a bad list, huh? If I was going on battle, if I had them fight with me, I'd be all right.
You'd be all right, yeah.
There's no doubt about it. Right, Amir, Carl, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Amir, you've been a brilliant guest, and we'll see you next time on ChatterBox.
Thanks for having me. Carl, good to see you.
Thanks, Amir.
That's it for this episode of ChatterBox. Thanks for joining us, Amir. You've been a brilliant guest. Thanks also to Tommy Fury and Frank Warren, and of course, Carl Frampton. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next time.